I will blow the tube up so it's not fully round or hard, but has some air in it. If you note, there's a blue ring around the tube, only on one side. Some tubes actually have them on both sides. This ring is to double check and make sure that your tube is going in straight. Before installing the tube needs to be lubricated with something. I'm just going to use my soap and water. Some people prefer talcum powder or baby powder, something that allows the tube to move around a little bit when it's being installed and then also when you're filling it up with air. Now I install my valve stem in first. Simply lift up on your tire and push the tube in. I will put about half the tube in before inserting the valve stem. This is just to make sure the tube is going in straight. Installing the valve stem can be tricky. Sometimes you may need a pair of pliers, but usually you can do it with your hands. Reach in, use one hand to guide the valve stem into the hole and the other hand to push it in. At this point, I like to install very loosely the valve stem nut. I'm only going to put the nut on a couple of threads. This is just so that the valve stem does not fall back into the tire. Push the tube in the rest of the way. Installing your second rim lock if you have dual rim locks. You can do this before you install your tube, or you can do this after you install your tube. Simply lift up on the tire, and you'll want to, if your tube's already in, make sure the tube is on the back side of your hand, and then work the rim lock into the tire in front of the tube and then down into the hole. Now I'm going to install my nut, just a couple of threads just to make sure it does not fall back into the tire. Make sure my tube isn't being pinched. Next, we can double check our blue line. You want to make sure you see the blue line all the way around. You do not want the tube to be kinked inside the tire. Some tires come stamped with a colored mark, yellow, white, or red. These stamped marks should line up with your valve stem. The purpose for these is the valve stem should be the heavier part of your wheel. The stamped portion of the tire should be the lightest part of the tire. Matching these two up, you should get a pretty close balanced tire. Lube up your tire really well. I'm going to use my tire iron with the cup face towards my rim this time, and I'm going to start right after the valve stem. You want to be very careful not to pinch the tube in between the tire iron and the rim. Be very careful. Then you will get what they call a snake bite in your tube before it's even installed. Make sure your valve stem is depressed, keeping the tube away from the rim.